headed to the gym right now. Get this workout on. Yeah, I want to tap in with y'all real quick about I'm gonna be looking at this Foolio trial. You know, I definitely I'm a fan of law. I study law as well. So with that, as well as coming from the music industry, I definitely want to see the nuances of this case, especially with them using rap lyrics as well within trials nowadays. I want to say what they did with the 6ix9ine trial. I don't follow the Young Thug trial too much. You know, I've seen some viral clips here and there. Young Thug's lawyer was just amazing. He did a phenomenal job. You know, so yeah, but I'm definitely, you know, and I believe the Foolio situation popped off in Florida, so it's going to be under Florida law. You know, and they have, I think they have camera. They got camera footage of the situation, shooting. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the accomplices, it was a female who was one of the accomplices who ended up snitching, or aka telling on the guys who did it, you know what I mean? So but yeah. So I think, you know, a lot of the times people are very, very interested in the nuances of these cases, you know, because they can be very complex sometimes, you know what I'm saying? But the event was a very unfortunate situation, and I spoke about it once before regarding just being aware, you know, being aware of your, not only your surroundings, man, but just dropping of locations. And we live in a social media era now, so, you know, especially as a celebrity, or just, you don't even have to be a mega star nowadays. You know, you could just be somewhat known, especially if you're coming from the streets and you got some beef in the streets or conflict in the streets, back and forth with, you know, whoever, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you definitely need to always be, that's when you need to be on high alert the most. Straight up. You know what I'm saying? You know, so y'all definitely tap in with me. I'll be covering some of this case. You know, and for me, I mean, I've been in the game since I was, I want to say probably 15 years old. You know, when you start music, you're building your foundation. You know people in the streets. You know, you're cool with this guy who may have an issue with that guy. You know, but you have more of a neutral standing based on who you are and your identity. But just, and I talked about surviving. You know, how to survive the rap game, and what I learned from like G-Unit and you know, TDE, like Top Dog, you know what I'm saying? Kendrick's label, Rockefeller Records, you know what I'm saying? Like, just to survive and maneuver. And I'm not gonna say I'm not saying how to come out of the game unscathed, right? Because you can't necessarily predict that. However, you can drastically minimize that. You feel what I'm saying? Because you're gonna have your run-ins and your issues, and I've had my fair share of situations. Now, granted, it wasn't as an example, like, long story short, you know, and I served in the military. So I was in the military. I was stationed in Colorado. Long story short, one of my homies, right? And this is not music related, you know, even though I was an active artist at that time as well. Like, somebody had an issue with my homie, right? Boom. I seen a guy out, I want to say in the club or out and about, right? Boom. There's only one of me. He had some niggas with him. So what I do, I seen him. I said, you know what? Let me get up out of here. You know what I'm saying? I'm outnumbered. Boom. I leave. You know what I'm saying? And it's real late. No cars really out. This is in Colorado Springs. I'm driving, and I see a car behind me. I didn't think too much of it, but then I'm like, why they got their lights off? And once I realized that I was being followed, boom, I booked it. They cut their lights on. They following me. Now we in a, you could call it a high-speed chase, some Need for Speed shit, but yeah, man, them niggas was following me. Luckily for me, you know, I was military, right? So guess where I went? Straight to the base, right? Now, I lived on base at that time, but even if I did not live on base at that time, I would have still went to the base, because they can't get on base, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, I got off the exit, and once they realized I was going to the base, they had no choice but to go ahead and go elsewhere, you know what I'm saying? But that was, talk about crazy. You know, situations like that, you know, and, you know, sometimes, you know, I just happen to be in music, but then obviously you got street politics involved in that, especially with my homie, having an issue with them, or that one of them guys, you know what I'm saying? So, and that could have ended badly, you know what I'm saying? But, and I was probably 20, 21, you know what I'm saying? So about 20 years ago, you know? So, you know, things happen, man, you know what I'm saying? And now, granted, you know, nowadays I really, you know, my circle of influence and the guys that I'm, you know, connected with, I mean, or you know, involved with, like, you know, we got children, and, you know, we make more mature decisions, so on and so forth, you know. So, but the whole guilty by affiliation, that's a classic case of guilty by affiliation. You feel what I'm saying? Period. You know, so, yeah, man, I never forget that time, you know. So, but fast forward to now, you know, it bleeds over, you know, now with music as an artist, you know, your lyrics are your lyrics, man. A lot of times, you know, people are not, you know, willing to take those lyrics back. You know, you got to stand on them. Your word is your bond. You got to stand on them. You know what I'm saying? And whether you got your team with you, or you solo dolo, you better be ready. You better be ready for whatever, you know. So just some food for thought, you know. So yeah, appreciate y'all tapping in. You know, I'm gonna definitely touch on the Foolio case and you know, a few more things that may be related to it as well, you know, music wise, hip hop wise, you know what I mean? And we'll definitely see what we can gain and learn, you know, from there, you know what I'm saying? So, but definitely, God bless the dead, rest in peace to Foolio, you know, and anybody, especially guys that we've lost in the past, man. When you think about the guys, you know, whether it be Pop Smoke, or especially to street situations, you know, like a robbery or whatever, PNB Rock, you know what I'm saying? Not like the ones that are more natural causes or just drug related, like Mac Miller. You know, I believe it being drug related, things like that. So definitely, God bless the dead. Rest in peace to these guys, man. And many more of them. So we'll tap in from there, man. So yeah, y'all stay tuned, man. Stay blessed.